Happy Easter. Welcome to Unity on the North Shore Sunday Service. Whether you're joining in the sanctuary or joining us virtually via Zoom today or watching us later via social media, we're glad you're with us. I'm Alyssa Foster, your platform assistant, and Priscilla Florence is our prayer chaplain today. Reverend Kurt Condra is our speaker, and we're grateful to be blessed by today's soloist, Felina Bunn, and Dennis Luxon, our accompanist. Let's get started now with prayer. Holy Presence, we know that in God we can never be separate from love, from truth, from infinite intelligence and the source of all good. We gather here in this sacred time to open our hearts and minds to the one power and one presence. We gratefully receive the energies of divine light and love pouring in and through us. And we affirm we are here this morning for a divine purpose. We trust that that purpose is now being fulfilled, for we know we are now in the presence of pure being, immersed in the Holy Spirit of life, love, and wisdom. And so it is. Amen. And now, Felina and Dennis will bless us with our opening song.
Birds flying high, you know how I feel. Sun in the sky, you know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good. Fish in the sea, you know how I feel. River running free, you know how I feel. Blossoms on the tree, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me, and I'm feeling good. Dragonflies out in the sun, you know what I mean. Butterflies out having fun, you know what I mean. Sleep in peace when the day is done, you know what I mean. And this old world is a new world, and a bold world for me. Stars when you shine, you know how I feel. Scent on the pine, you know how I feel. Freedom is mine, you know how I feel. It's a new dawn, it's a new day, it's a new life for me. Good.
Wow, thank you so much, Felina and Dennis. What a wonderful way to celebrate Easter Sunday. I'd like to welcome you all now with our welcome and purpose statement. Unity is a positive, practical approach for spiritual living based on the teachings of Jesus and the power of prayer. We believe there is truth and beauty in every spiritual tradition, and so we honor the many paths to God. Wherever you are on your journey of faith, please know that you're always welcome here. At Unity on the North Shore, our purpose is to create a safe space where people are empowered to take risks and live their deepest truth. If this is your first Sunday with us, we extend a loving welcome to you. Upon discovering Unity, many of us were surprised to learn that there was a spiritual community that thought and believed the same things that we did. It felt like coming home. That's certainly true for me. We hope your experience this morning is equally powerful and that you'll return. If you are new to us today in the sanctuary, please complete a guest card in our welcome center at the back of the sanctuary so we can further welcome you. And now, Felina and Dennis will lead us in our morning's group song.
Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel God's mighty power and God's grace. I can hear the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on His face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and God's grace. I can hear the brush of angel wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place.
Thank you, Felina. Thank you, Dennis. Isn't it beautiful? We're all draped out today. The church is in its Easter best. Ooh, so exciting. Thank you. My name is Priscilla Florence, and I'm your chaplain today. Oh, so we feel God's presence today. I am reminded of a song called Rise Up, sung by Andra Day. Kurt even played it in church one morning. And that's the theme of the day, isn't it? Rise up to ourselves, our spirit, and to the spirit of others. And so today, I read the daily word, and let my words be your words. And the theme of today, Easter, is through Christ, I rise again. And let me say again and again and again. On this glorious Easter Sunday, the sun rises on the new day. I am glorious too, called to life and shining with joy because Christ is risen in me. Just as a stone was rolled away to reveal an empty tomb where Jesus' crucified body had been, I roll away the stones of all that has kept me entombed and leave my crucifixion experience behind. Easter is the celebration of Jesus' overcoming death. It is also an invitation to celebrate my victory over all that I have survived. It is a celebration of the triumph of truth, the resurrection of the Christ within. The trials of the world are always temporary. Today, I roll away the stone of limitation and am resurrected into the truth of God. With joy, I rise again and again and again. John 11:25, the verse says, I am the resurrection and the life. So now, let us hold ourselves in prayer and those of our loved ones as we take some breaths and rest in the silence, holding them in your heart. And so we let it be. Let us affirm the presence of God's grace and guidance in every person and in every human condition. Amen.
I close my eyes, I open my heart, I take a deep breath, let the healing start. I lift my hands, I plant my feet, I let love in. I feel the beat that's calling us to rise, rise, Spirit, rise up, rise in me. I ready my soul, I clear my mind. I'm here now, in present time. I feel the power of 1,000 suns lighting up the dark. Oh, we rise as one. Oh, rise, rise, Spirit, rise up, rise in me. Oh, rise, rise, Spirit, rise up, rise in me. I sing to you, you sing to me. Change up this noise, make sweet harmonies. Oh, heart to heart, hand in hand, no turning back, onward to the promised land. Do you feel the power of 1,000 suns lighting up the dark? Oh, we rise as one. Oh, rise, rise, yes, rise up, rise in me. Oh, oh, rise, yes, rise up, rise and be.
Thank you, Felina. Thank you, Dennis. So we're doing things a little bit different this Sunday, it being Easter Sunday. And I want to welcome our kiddos and our youth. We have some folks here who are joining us. We have special experience for them coming up downstairs. But before that, Jasmine, I found a story that I think the kids would enjoy. Can we have the kids come up front? And we'll start out with a story, and then you can go downstairs and create some wonderful stuff. Or have they already gone? I can't see. Yay, come on up. Any kiddos, or even if you're young at heart, if you want to come up. So I found this story. Alyssa, who is our platform assistant, and Jasmine are also facilitating the experience for the kids downstairs. We're doing that as a special Easter thing. So I see Saya. Hi, Saya. How are you this morning? Yeah, I'm going to stay standing because I'm not masked right now, and I want to make sure that doing proper distancing. But I found this great little parable that I hadn't heard of before. It's called the Parable of the Acorn. And let's see, it starts with this group of acorns they're down on the ground, big oak trees. You know what an oak tree is? Big, giant oak tree way up in the sky. And little acorns had fallen. They're all congregated down at the bottom. And the little acorns they're just living their best lives, They're trying to be the best acorns they know how to be. They're taking classes about how to be good acorns. They're forgiving each other. They're doing all the stuff that's supposed to be appropriate for being the best acorns that they can be. And then one day, a bird flies over, and the bird drops this acorn, but you know what? This acorn doesn't have a nice polished shell like all the ones down on the ground. He looks kind of grungy. He's even got a crack in his shell, and he's kind of different. And the other acorns that had been there, they're trying to practice their principles, so they welcome this kind of different acorn and start asking him about where he comes from and what he believes. And he started telling them stuff that they didn't know if they agreed with. And one of them said, he said at one point that, you know what? We are that. And he pointed up at the oak tree. We acorns are that giant oak tree. And the other acorns that had been sitting around on the ground all that time, they just couldn't believe them. They said, what do you mean we're that? How can that possibly be? And the grungy acorn, he said, well, here's what it takes. It means we have to get buried deep in the ground, in the earth, and our shells, they'll crack away and they'll die, and then that makes way for a whole new life that'll grow up as this giant oak tree. Do you have any idea why I'm telling that story on Easter Sunday? Have you ever had a time when you thought you knew how it was supposed to go, or what somebody was supposed to say, or what you're going to do at school, and it turned out that it didn't go that way at all? Yeah, I think most of us have. We have ideas about what we think is going to happen, and then sometimes those ideas, it doesn't go the way we think it is. And so I know you haven't really thought of one specifically, but can you imagine that you might feel maybe disappointed if it didn't go the way you thought it was going to? Maybe a little angry, or there might be you might have some feelings about that, right? You wanted it to go your way, and it didn't. You might have some feelings about that, and that is a perfectly natural response. It's kind of a human response. And it's kind of the same thing that happens in the Easter story, right? Jesus, he died, and things didn't go the way that people expected. But as we stayed true to that truth of being, that like the acorn was pointing to the tree, stayed true to the idea that there is a greater expression of God's love coming forward. As we stay true to that, then there's new life that emerges. And I think that happens in our lives too. I think in those places where we might feel kind of disappointed, and if we stay open and if we stay receptive and we honor those feelings that we have that come up, then new life will emerge, and we'll find ourselves transformed. We'll find ourselves changed. Yeah. So thanks, guys. I appreciate you coming up. I hope you remember the acorn story next time something doesn't go the way you think it's gonna. And maybe remember there's always a different possibility. Great. Okay, so thanks. I know you guys are going to go downstairs. You got some good, fun activities planned, and then you'll be back up toward the end of the service, and we'll bless y'all. And we'll close the service kind of being all together as one. Yeah. All right, so how about y'all? The acorn thing. Relate? Yeah. You got some things that happened in your own journey that didn't quite go the way you expected? Yeah. I think if we look at the story of Jesus, I say this every year, right? The Easter story is our story too. But I think if we look at the story of Jesus through the perspective that this pathway to transformation has some very particular characteristics, that as we become more mindful of those, as we maybe can live into those more fully and live the way that Jesus demonstrated those dynamics in his own experience of transformation, that we actually create a greater capacity for us to be transformed in those same kinds of situations, yeah. Because here's the thing about resurrections. In Unity, we teach that all of the biblical sort of narrative is our own journey, right? That it is symbolic of the circumstances and of the changes that we experience in our own lives. And so as we sort of use the Bible as our example or as our model, that we can begin to embody those in ways that we see Jesus demonstrating, right? So the same is true of this Easter experience. As we look at kind of how Jesus moved through the dynamics that I believe are requisite for us to be able to claim transformation when we're moving through especially difficult experiences, but any experience really. As we can sort of model our own responses after what we see Jesus demonstrating, then we too can be resurrected into new life. And those resurrections happen every time we're able to release a limiting thought or a judgmental idea or some kind of resentment that we're holding. Every time we allow those to die, our hearts open to a resurrection kind of energy that brings forth a greater capacity for love, right? So resurrection doesn't happen just on Easter Sunday. We celebrate it. It's sort of the epitome. It's the ultimate model that we have for living into this more fully. But it happens to us each and every time we make the choice to be present to the possibility the Spirit holds for us in any circumstance, in any situation, right? So what are these dynamics that I'm imagining we might be able to embody more fully as we look at the life of Jesus? The first would be, first I want to draw a distinction between transformation and change, right? And I'm borrowing this from a minister at Mile High Church in Denver. She says that the difference between transformation and change is that transformation has this capacity for like miraculous metamorphosis kind of thing, right? Whereas change tends to be more about choices that we're able to make, right? As we move through change, we can decide whether or not we want to take this action or that action. And in general, when we're dealing with change at this level of it, it's sort of like we can predict what the outcome is, or at least we have some idea or image of what might happen in that change. Transformation, on the other end, is much deeper. It's like essential change to the nature of the way that we're showing up or the way that we're being. It's a growth in the aliveness of our spirits. And transformation is a whole lot more unpredictable, right? We can't necessarily know what's going to happen on the other side of a transformative experience. That's part of the dynamic that I'll be talking about in a second. Okay, so now back to the way that I see Jesus modeling this for us, right? The first of sort of the requisite dynamics that I believe might be essential for us to really move into an experience or a challenge in a way that is transformational is that we recognize that it's going to be uncomfortable. We're going to be asked to step up to embody sort of our spiritual principles or to embody the ideas that Jesus demonstrates in ways that are not necessarily going to be familiar, in ways that are not necessarily going to be patterned, right? We're going to have to allow ourselves to be in a space of discomfort. And that discomfort might arise as resistance. It might arise as even resentment or anger or frustration, all the stuff I was talking about with the kids just a minute ago on the Acorns, right? As we move into those spaces, what happens is that it can actually become an inhibitor to transformation, right? If we move into a space where we're not comfortable, we're going to sort of dig in our heels and we're not willing to sort of roll with it as it goes, what happens is that we inhibit the capacity for any kind of healing or any kind of transcendence to occur, to unfold. And we see Jesus sort of moving into those places all the time. And yet what he demonstrates is a capacity and a resilience to continue on the path, right? There's a capacity, as Jesus, all through Holy Week, remember he starts out in the temple, he's turning over tables, right, to the money changers. There's a lot of frustration and anger that we see him experiencing there. And yet he moves through that Holy Week, continuing to be unafraid of sort of challenging status quo. He continues to be open to how he's called to serve in those situations so that there might be a greater experience of life expressing, a greater experience of God moving through that Passover celebration those many centuries ago, yes? How else? We see Jesus experiencing all kinds of pain, betrayal even. At the Last Supper, Judas betrays him. Peter, we know, is going to deny him. All sorts of betrayals, all sorts of obstacles that are not going to be comfortable places that we too are going to experience sometimes when we're moving into those places of challenge, right? And yet Jesus perseveres. He has a sense of resilience to be able to stay present, to continue to walk the walk right up until the disciples falling asleep in the Garden of Gethsemane the night before when he just wants company and he's left alone and sort of abandoned to deal with this on his own. There are times in our own lives where it's going to feel lonely and we're going to feel like there's no one around, and as much as we crave it, the call is to stay true to the journey, yeah? What happens, at least in my experience, is that when I encounter some of those obstacles, I'll start to question whether or not that's really the call, you know? Start to say, well, you know what, this is just too hard. I don't think it's meant for me. This isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. And I was going to say more often than not, but I'm not going to claim that. I will say on occasion, I have succumbed and sort of not pursued, and what I've done is sort of, I believe, stop the transformative piece of it, right? Whatever was the possibility that might have been, might have emerged on the other side of that stops the minute I stop staying true to the path, yeah? So a part of being present to that uncomfortableness is knowing that as we sort of connect in and stay grounded and resilient, that we create a greater possibility for that transformation to occur. We actually put the first part of that dynamic together. And it's also helpful to know that in the midst of that, it's not going to feel good. In the midst of transformation, as you look back through your own life, think about some of the transformations. Even as, look at our little kiddos, even moving from elementary school to middle school, do you remember back in your own experience? Like there was some fearfulness about that. High school to college to marriage, maybe a broken relationship. Every one of those is a transformative experience, or can be, where you emerge from it a different person than you entered it. And yet it required a degree of uncomfortability in order to sort of stay true to the transformative process. Yeah. So the first is be willing to be uncomfortable, because transformation really requires it of us. The second dynamic that I kind of see unfolding in Jesus' experience and Jesus' demonstration is, I want to make sure I don't get these out of order. The second dynamic is that it's very likely going to be a controversial path that you're taking. Yeah. And I'm not saying necessarily controversial in the outer. There may be voices on either side of you that are arguing for one point or another, but those same voices probably are going to rise within you. There's going to be part of you that wants to move in one direction, and part of you that's going to be pulled in the other. There's going to be this sort of controversy that is set up, this confrontation that's set up within or without, either way. In Jesus' experience, we see that demonstrated, I think, most powerfully with the three crosses, right? Once he has been crucified and he's on the hill with, what is it? I can't remember the name. Golgotha. I'm sorry, my biblical knowledge is failing me here. Three crosses on a hill. Jesus is in the center cross. There are two other criminals that have been crucified on either side of him, right? If we read through, and the experience of those two criminals is very different. Right? On one side of him, the criminal is sort of joining in with all the jeering that the rest of the crowd is. You're supposed to be the king of the Jews. Can't you get us out of this? Come on, king of the Jews. Like that's what's happening on one side of Jesus. And then on the other side, in the other ear, the other criminal has sort of accepted that what's happening to him, he has deserved. Right? He recognized that, he says, in fact, his response is that you and I have sinned. We have broken the law. What we're getting is what's due us. This man, Jesus, has done nothing, and his request of Jesus is simply that he be remembered. Right? And so both sides, two completely different perspectives, arguing back and forth, and I don't know how much arguing they're doing. That was probably not a real comfortable place for them to be either. But Jesus' response, I think, for us, is really indicative of how it is we can continue to move into that transformative experience, right? Jesus says, as before this day ends, we will see one another in heaven, right? He sort of unifies the two perspectives and creates space for all of it. And that's part of what we need to do in our own experience as we're moving through the challenges that we have, as we've got those inner voices and maybe even outer voices that are arguing for a different perspective, no matter how combative that gets. The only way we move through to transformation is to be accepting of what is and to allow Spirit to sort of move through us in a way that's going to bring about a greater sense of oneness and wholeness. That's where the healing happens. So first, a little bit of discomfort, or maybe a lot of discomfort, depending on the situation. And then a willingness to be present to the controversy that's going to happen, the conflict, inner and outer, that's going to happen, right? I'm also hoping that I'm intimating that this doesn't only happen kind of for our personal journeys or within our spiritual community, but we see it happening geopolitically. There is everywhere this potential for transformation as we are willing to kind of stay open to it and present to it. All right, so what's the third dynamic that I think we need to be present to? The third dynamic we need to be present to is that the outcome is unknown. Right? In order to be truly transformational, for us to become new beings, to live into a new embodiment of life, then it's probably going to be something, edit that. It is most certainly going to be something that we could not have predicted or rationalized or thought through. Transformation is that experience of transcending whatever the current circumstances is. So it's going to require us to be present to what is completely unknown. In Jesus' journey, I believe, I've been reading a lot this, and I think it's not a coincidence that this year more than ever, there's more being posted and written about what happens on Saturday. Jesus was crucified on Friday, and then he's resurrected on Sunday. There's nothing in the Bible. Well, we know that the stone was rolled away at some point. That's it. So the obstacle is removed, but it's an entire mystery what happens within that tomb experience, right? Being able to be in that unknown is a critical part of allowing transformation to happen. We have to be willing to let Spirit move through us and in us and among us. Sometimes the projection most often is that it's a time of rest. It's a period of darkness and rest, which might well be true, but we don't know. There might be a lot going on in that place of unknown. I know in my own experience, that's how it's been. I'll share a little bit of my own personal story. The biggest transformation probably in my life, like going from, I was involved, this is before gay marriage was legal, so I was involved in a relationship that had been going on for about 10, 11 years. And the thing kind of blew up. I started following a spiritual path, and when I dragged him to church one day, he was completely, ignited by it, but in a way that he went and sought a church that would heal the gayness, right? So he ended up going in a completely different path, which threw me into a whole identity crisis of my own. Like, is it wrong about me? Is it what I should be feeling? Should I be looking at going straight? So there's huge identity crisis, lots of unknown stuff. And as I began to deal with that, everything in my life changed. We sold the home that we had lived in and established. I ended up changing jobs, moving to a completely different neighborhood, and by the end of it, I was a minister. Like, how did that happen? There's a process that we move through as we're willing to engage in the unknown that will move us into a transformative kind of state that has so much more power for bringing forth the life that's within us, that has so much possibility for allowing us to live the fullness of our spiritual dimension, right? As we allow it, as we stay present to it, as we are willing to sort of be in, what are my 3 things? Can you remember them? Okay, I got to look too. The first was, it's uncomfortable to be willing to be in the discomfort, right? It's not going to be anything that our patterns have been before. And the second is to recognize that there's probably going to be some conflict and controversy that emerges as a result of engaging in this possibility. We're going to have mixed feelings about it, and so will the people around us. To be present to that, to allow it, and to have it sort of move into a space where we can feel a greater sense of wholeness. And the third, of course, is to be willing to live in the unknown. That can be a scary place, but as we embrace it, one of the teachers I saw, that she hopes it goes from a place of, I don't know what's going to happen, to, I don't know what's going to happen, right? That we can move into a space of being open and excited about the possibilities that Spirit holds for us through these crucifixion and resurrection and rising in new life experiences that might be available to us. No, I wouldn't even say might be, that certainly are available to us every time we have a choice to make about letting go of a limiting belief or a negative consequence. Yeah. Let's see, there's one more piece I wanted to share, but I'm gonna share it anyway. And then we'll turn it into a meditation as well. So the other piece about this experience, this business of transformation, is that it's not just about what we're able to do for ourselves, right? This transforming process, this rising up in spirit. But if we are resurrection people, and I believe we are, if we are resurrection people, then that means that we actually can bring someone back from the dead. Do you believe that? Come on. Are you dubious? Do you not? Are you like, oh, say a little more before I'll consent to that? I'm not going to take that on. I'm not going to bring back anybody from the dead. But what I would say is that we all have. And I want to share with you sort of a rationale for claiming that as a truth of being, as a doorway to our transformation and an invitation to others to transform. This is from a writer called named Megan McKenna. She's a Catholic writer. But she was teaching a class at one point, and they were looking at one of those many times when Jesus has brought someone back to life, right? And from the back of the room, she's made just this assertion I have, that we have the capacity to bring life back, to bring someone back to life from the dead. And that it's an invitation that's open to all of us. And some guy in the back says, yeah, have you ever brought anyone back to life? And she sort of stopped, kind of surprised. And then this is how she responded. She said, yeah, every time I bring hope into a situation, every time I bring joy that shatters despair, every time I forgive others and give them back dignity, every time I listen to others and affirm them in their life, every time I speak the truth in public, every time I confront injustice, every time I confront injustice, yes, I bring people back from the dead. That's an invitation that's open to all of us. It's an invitation that I believe can transform not only how we're showing up in our sort of spiritual dimension and nature, but it can transform the world as we become really willing to take on that call and that assignment. So let's affirm it now as we move into a time of meditation.
Rise up, rise, rise up and meet your rise, rise, rise up and
So into this time that we've created for quiet reflection, I invite you to breathe very deeply. Feel a sense of expansion. Feel your whole physical body relax. And together we affirm truth as we take this opportunity to connect with that in us which is greater than our human beingness. And to know that as we turn our attention within, we create an opening that we might rise up, that we may claim our truest nature and know that we truly are a resurrection people. We give thanks for the many times in our journey when we have been able to claim hope and to rest in faith in times of uncertainty. We remember the many times that we have been brave enough to move through uncertainty, brave enough to move through discomfort, and resilient enough to keep to the path. We recognize that these dynamics are essential to continuing our journey into rising. And we recognize that these are qualities that we can not only hold for ourselves, but that we can and do create space for in others. We're grateful for when we're able to bring comfort to someone who's grieving. We're grateful for the awareness that through our capacity to forgive, we free ourselves and others to live more fully. We're grateful for those occasions in our lives when we have stayed the path. That we might rise up into a new and more vibrant and vital capacity for living. So as we move into just a moment of silence, I would invite you to call forth just one experience where you have been a comfort, where you have brought peace, where you have expressed love in a way that brought life to someone who was feeling dead at some level. Credit yourselves with the blessing that you are, And as we bring this time of remembering and reflecting to a close, we do so affirming that we are a resurrection people. We bring life where there is death. We bring peace where there is strife. We bring joy where there is despair. Thank you, God, for this truth of knowing as we continue our desire to rise up. So it is, and so we let it be. Amen. This is the time in our service when we share our tithes and our love offerings. Oh, good. Unity on the North Shore is supported by free will offerings from our congregants, both here in the sanctuary, turn your microphone virtual. It says I'm on. Perhaps my battery's going. So this is the time in our service when we receive our tithes and our offerings. Unity on the North Shore is supported by the free will offerings of those of you here in the sanctuary and our membership, and also those of you who join us online and virtually. So we invite you to, and most of all, we want to make sure that the gifts that we give are coming from a space of real prosperity and gratitude and thankfulness. So I invite you to cultivate those energies. And whatever your gift might be, whether monetary or spiritual, I invite you to just tap into your heart and know that through this capacity for being people of increase, people of generosity, that we actually increase the flow of abundance into our lives and into our community. So if you're giving online, you can give by text at 815-827-6052. Of course, you can visit our website at www.unityns.org, and there's a give button in the top right-hand corner of most every page. And of course, you can mail us with U.S. Postal Service at 3434 Central Street, Evanston, Illinois 60201. So I invite you to cultivate those energies. If you're in the sanctuary, we're no longer passing bags in the back, but there is a bowl on the way out. We invite you to bless your gifts and drop them in the bowl. So let's speak together our offertary prayer with all of the spirit of generosity and abundance that we can muster together. Divine love, as me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Please stand, let's sing this together.
All that I need comes to me. All that I need comes to me. The light of love and grace shines upon my face. All that I need comes to me. The light of love and grace shines upon my face. All that I need comes
and that is the truth. All that you can be seated. All that we need does indeed come to us. And many of you know that we have had some changes in our administrative staff over the past few weeks. And so I want to introduce to you the newest member of our staff. Persephone, if you wouldn't mind just stepping up to the podium, Mike. I'm going to give you the opportunity to just say hello. This is Persephone Garcia, and she is joining us, or actually has joined us, as Community Life Coordinator. She's going to be responsible for really cultivating deeper relationships and discovering our gifts and finding ways that we can be of greater service to one another and in the community. I am so delighted that you're on board, Stephanie, or Persephone, I'm sorry. Persephone. Say that with me. Persephone. Persephone. So, gosh, I don't know. Maybe just if you want to share a bit about why this position attracted you, that would be fantastic.
Sure. Hi, everyone. So I'm very passionate about human connection and being community-oriented, and I truly feel that we have a responsibility to God to act on the things that we're passionate about and to be in community and to find our people and our community so that we can share those experiences with people that, really are transformational to one another. And I've had a little bit of an isolated experience in my own support system and family growing up, and so most of my life has been spent, finding my community, my tribe, and blessing other people in my, in my skills and my talents and the way I communicate, and having those special experiences with other people. And so I was really excited about finding this role online and seeing it. I'm always happy to meet new people and to just kind of like offer my emotional intelligence as a foundation for them to communicate with me, what they're feeling deeply and what they feel deeply about, and how we can kind of connect the dots. So I'm very happy to be here and facilitate those type of spaces.
Great, thank you, Persephone.
Thank you.
Going to help us in our own transformative process. So excited to have you with us. So it's time for announcements, right? Yes? So first, I wanted to mention that next week, Easter party and potluck, we're going to skip that one because I'm going to let Jasmine, I'm going to let the folks who are running it do that in just a minute. So, but next weekend, next Saturday, is our farewell Dim Sum Luncheon for Denise Giambalvo. If you have not yet responded, you can let Suzanne Lamb know that you're planning to attend, and then you'll pay at the site. Denise has been just a foundational member of our leadership team for the last few years, and she's got a new opportunity. She's moving to the West Coast, so we're going to miss her, but we definitely want to send her off in good stead with plenty of blessings. Denise, you want to stand up just so people can say hello? Yay, Denise. All right, next up, next Friday night is our Kirtan concert. This is an amazing opportunity that literally fell in our laps. This is a internationally known Kirtan. Does everybody know what Kirtan is? Have you heard of that music? You know what a harmonium is? It's kind of Eastern influenced. There's a lot of movement associated with it. It's very meditative. Do you know what a harmonium is? It's kind of a weird organ that sits on the floor, and it's amazing sounds. And this particular band was booked to do a show with Heaven Meets Earth Yoga Studio up the street, and they didn't have enough space, so the owner of Heaven Meets Earth gave me a call and said, could we like do it at Unity on the North Shore? And so we have partnered with them. They are nationally known. Our ticket sales are not as robust as I would have hoped by now. So if you have not yet heard them, or if you're unfamiliar with Kirtan music, look up Sean Johnson and the Wild Lotus Band on YouTube. They have their last album is titled Unity. They are so in alignment with what we teach, what we believe, and it'll just be a wonderful kind of experiential concert that we'll be having here next Friday. So I would also encourage you to invite, if you've got friends that you would love to be hanging out with. We will require masking for that event for the audience. The band will not be masked, but everyone in the audience will be. And I think we're also looking for proof of vaccination or proof of having been tested within 48 hours. So just know that we're wanting to take every precaution we can to make sure we're keeping people safe. But it's going to be an amazing concert. Get your tickets online. You can go to our website. There are virtual tickets available if you prefer, or here next Friday. So, the Kirtan concert. Next up is Unpacking Race and Racism. This is a 6-week class that I'll be facilitating. It's an amazing discovery. It led me to some amazing discoveries. I took it last round and then signed up to be a facilitator. I was so impressed with this material. But it's really a class designed for white people to learn about whiteness, right? So much of, I'm not going to say much more about that. It's an amazing class. You should, because I said it, you should know it's true. I do only have one space left in my pod, they're calling them, but these are being held nationally. So if you go to our website, you can check on it. There are a number of other facilitators who are doing experience at different times and different days. I highly recommend it. I think this could be transformational for the planet as this kind of teaching and understanding really starts to develop. I'll be saying a lot more about my work with the Anti-Racism Institute as we move on, but this class is being developed specifically for white people to learn about whiteness. As the programs are developed, there will be other opportunities for more connectivity and starting to work together in what we're calling brave spaces, where we'll have mixed race kind of experiences. But the feeling from the developers, who were largely black, was that white people, we got our own work to do before we can really move into spaces where we can be compassionate and really hearing from the experiences of black folks. And I found that to be true in my own journey. So if you're interested in really starting to creating bridges between some of the craziness that we're experiencing and have for years now, then I highly recommend that program. That's longer than I wanted to talk about it. Let's go to the next one. That's it. If you stay connected with us, follow us on Facebook, YouTube channel. We've also got, these are live streamed to our website, our Sunday services, so please just get connected with us and come on board. All right, so now we'd like to welcome our youth and our families back up. They've had their experience downstairs, and I'm going to try singing We're Walking in the Light. Walking in the light of God. Am I on the right key? We are walking in the light of God. 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 We are walking, we are walking, we are walking in the light of God. We are walking, we are walking. We are walking in the light of God. I switched keys about 4 times, but.
Hello, I'm back. It's been like 2 years now. For reference, it's been in 2 years in kids' time is like 5 years in adult time, so it's been a while. COVID was like a lot. We don't need to talk about that though, because today we learned about transformations, and the best way to do that is through a butterfly, and hence why we let all those go. And made these little butterfly crafts that go into little chrysalises and just symbolize how, new beginnings is the theme of spring and the theme of why we're all here today, learning about Easter, and we did an Easter egg hunt, but with gift bags this time, because it's a lot easier than to hide 40 eggs. So, yeah.
Thanks so much, Juliet. I really appreciate you taking the initiative to describe our crafts downstairs. We're inviting folks to come down just for some snacks, lemonade, and so forth at our potluck downstairs. If you brought a dish to share, there's a table in the main meeting area downstairs, and you can just put it on the table. And we look forward to wishing you all a happy Easter. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So let's bless our youth and our children with our usual children's blessing. This is the first time we've been able to do this for 2 years. So let's end the count. Okay, together. Children, we love you. I'll say a line that you said. We love you. We bless you. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. Behold the Christ as you. Behold the Christ as you. And we see you doing great things. And we see you doing great things. Great.
I am your chaplain today, and I will be available at the light behind us for prayer today. Also, those of you online can enter your prayers in the chat, and those in the sanctuary can use a piece of paper on the back of your seat, write a prayer, and put it in the prayer box in the back. And now, peace what? Oh yeah, I haven't forgotten that. And now it is then we do the prayer for protection. It should be on your screen. Now we do the peace song. Is that on the screen? Okay.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, a peace that was meant to be. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. With me, let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
And now let us repeat our prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. I am light. The love of God enfolds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. The presence of God watches over us. I am presence. Wherever we are, God is. I am divine. Happy Easter, everyone.
the